Hello and welcome to another news round for EPL Index. It is now Tuesday, the 25th of August, which, if you know your dates, people, means there is precisely 1 week until the transfer window closes. Tuesday, the 1st of September, 11 p.m. There'll be no Harry Redknapp, there'll be no Peter Oden Wingy in a car park. It will be done. And in a weird way for the Premier League, it feels like a lot of the big clubs, hell, a lot of any club has still got business to do, hasn't it? So we'll get into that. But maybe more importantly, it's what happens on the pitch, isn't it? The Premier League kicked off this weekend. And there are a few surprises. There are a few disappointments, depending on which side of the fence you sit on. There was a lot to like and entertainment and talking points already, wasn't there? So just in case you have been living under a rock and you missed it, by the way, some incredible results, weren't there? Arsenal, of course, beat Coventry City. We were not surprised by that remotely. But Saturday, newly promoted Hull 2, Manchester United 0. And it kind of looks ridiculous, all that clawing thing from Hull. But who cares when you beat a Manchester United on your Premier League return 2-0? And they were worth it, weren't they? The crowd were with them early. Probably the shock result, you would say, from this weekend. Some interesting ones as well. The newly promoted teams, they weren't the only one. Ipswich got a late 2-1 win over Sunderland. Former Sunderland boy Jack Clarke there with the winner. Leeds, that's a great result, isn't it? 1-0 away at Forest. Oliver Glasner's first game in Premier League with Forest, but they fall. And Spurs were Spursy. Spurs were very Spursy, despite all the new signings in this one. Even with Andy Robertson, a new backline, Van Hecke, Senesi as well. All the changes, it still looked a little bit like the same old Spurs, and they are going to be uber busy. Hull still takes for me the standout result, but Brighton 4, Aston Villa 0. Not only that, but Aston Villa new boy, João Gomez, a red card, a blatant red card, especially when you're already on a yellow, gave a goal away. A nightmare for him, but a nightmare for all Aston Villa fans who noticed a player on strike for this one at the same time, which we'll be talking about. They are going to be busy right up until the end. But even after that, there were still great games. City weren't flowing under Enzo Maresca by any means, but a 2-1 victory against a good Bournemouth side is a 2-1 victory. Whether Gvardiol's pinky toe was on or off, who cares? They get 3 points there. And Dominic Szoboszlai rescues Liverpool with a last-minute penalty in front of the Gallagher. 2-2. Newcastle fans kind of gutted and buzzing at the same time. There was fears for you this season, but the heart, the effort they showed. And, of course, Xabi Alonso, the London derby last night, that didn't disappoint either, did it? Great game. Early goal from João Pedro, new signing Morgan Rogers on the score sheet. Also, Fulham, new boy Garcia gets on there. Robert Sanchez as well, Chelsea fans. Plenty to get stuck into. Now, of course, there is a full schedule coming up for the next week. Palace City is the Friday night game. Liverpool Forest is the Saturday morning game. But even just before that, some of you, not all of you Premier League fans, your teams will be in action tonight and tomorrow, won't they? Of course, the Carabao Cup. Is that what we call it? Is it still the Carabao? I think it's the Carabao anyway. That kicks off, doesn't it? So interesting ties there. Just a repeat of the weekend. Forest Leeds. That'll definitely be one worth watching. And Ipswich, Leicester. Tomorrow night as well. I think there's a few, if I've got it correct. There you go. Newcastle play at home against West Brom. Spurs might be able to get their first victory under the derby of the season. Charlton at home. Everton away at Preston. So a lot of the Premier League teams are in actions. It's a bit tough to know how that will fare, won't it? What I mean by that is, will they just play secondary squads? Because everyone else in the Premier League who's not in at this round, I mean, like the big boys are the ones in Europe, they've got that space in, haven't they? They've got a week between games. It'd be interesting to know, do Newcastle, do Forest, Leeds, these types of teams, do they go full strength? Might be the best chance of a trophy. Hard to say, but you have got action all the way through. It's going to be absolutely fascinating, ladies and gents. But I know what you want to talk about. A week left to go. 1st of September, Tuesday, 11 p.m. It slams shut. Most of the teams are still busy, aren't they? After that early surge and Spurs leading that, most teams have gone a little bit quiet now. But some are really starting to ramp up and make moves. Now, it's worth talking about Newcastle. They have been absolutely decimated this summer. Big changes, haven't they? New head coach, midfield galore left, Anthony Gordon as well. I mean, you have to remember they played against Liverpool, and to their credit, with a young Sean Sturr, if I'm pronouncing it right, the young Ajax boy, Lewis Miley, homegrown in there, Visser as the 10, but they didn't disappoint. But every Geordie will know they need numbers in the team. And they're trying. And by the way, they look like they're set to get one in the middle. This, Geordies, you're waiting to be announced in the near future, aren't you? David Ornstein had it at, what was that, an hour ago, literally. Newcastle reached agreement with Manchester City to sign Nico Gonzalez. The deal for the 24-year-old City midfielder, 52 million quid, 48 million of it fixed, 4 in add-ons. The Spaniard's been granted permission to take a medical and complete the move. The former Porto boy. Very much, you could say a box-to-box. It's not really happened for him at City, but it hasn't happened for a lot of players at City, doesn't it, for different readers, like Reinders. He's gone. I think he could be an interesting addition for you. And in fact, Fabrizio Romano's also went a little bit earlier than David Ornstein on this. He put Nico Gonzalez in Newcastle today for medical and contract signing after a 50 million deal. So a slight variation there. 47 million fixed plus 3 million in bonuses agreed. Newcastle have completed the paperwork exchange. God, we're even reporting on paperwork exchanges right now. That's the way the Premier League window is fixed. Now, Newcastle, you also know you need attackers. And you might be getting a new one. There's been a lot of links. And this one, will it though? Matías Fernandez Pardo, Lille, 21. On strike, it's important to say, which is funny. Because remember, Newcastle fans, you talked a lot about Isak being on strike. Well, Fernandez Pardo's been on strike for Lille, trying to get a move. But as Sasha Tablieri put there, what time was this? I don't think it was that long ago. What was it? 11, 12, nearly midday. Newcastle United are set to make a final offer for Matías Fernandez Pardo. The Magpies preparing to submit a 60 million euro bid, including bonuses, to convince Lille it's now or never. Now, he wanted to go to Atletico Madrid. Interesting talent, Fernandez Pardo. Play on the left, play in the middle. Featured very, very briefly for Belgium in the World Cup. But he's been liked by a lot of clubs, and he's been linked with a lot of clubs, hasn't he? Been linked with Liverpool earlier in the window. We just talked about Atletico Madrid there. Aston Villa at one point clearly had an interest in the Belgian youngster. Could be, Asula's up there at the moment. He had an injury, so if it happens, you wanted to get him in quite quickly before the weekend, won't you, Geordies? But Newcastle look very, very active in the market, don't they? So Nico Gonzalez, yes. Matías Fernandez Pardo, maybe. Lewis Hall, I did like the fact that Peter Schmeichel was told absolutely no chance. I'm sure you saw the interview. That'll be reassuring because I know he gave the penalty away, but I thought he had a great game for Newcastle. I think he's one of the league's best left backs as well. It's funny how things can just tweak a little bit, isn't it, for fans? There's still maybe questions for the Geordies, but it is looking a lot more positive in that neck of the woods, isn't it? We'll see if you do any final business in the weeks to go. Oh, the other thing I'd say for you, Newcastle, don't let that blue strip bit at the top. Traditional black and white, but hey, that is just me. Now, the big boys in the Premier League, Manchester City. They've been quite quiet. It's been a focus on sales, hasn't it? We've seen players leave, Rodri being the big one. But this feels like it should be quite a big end to the window for City. Now, they're after wingers, clearly. And last night, we had this from David Ornstein. They reached an agreement with Palmeiras to sign Alan Ellis, deal for the 22-year-old Palmeiras winger worth 37.5 million fixed euros plus 2.5 million in add-ons. The contract length for the Brazilian is in the process of being finalised before he's moved as the Savinho replacement. So, City fans, one winger, not confirmed yet, but set to come in the door. The only thing I would say, though, he's not the only winger link. There's different players and there's a Premier League team as well. City fans, what do you make of this one? Cody Gakpo. As the Athletic had it was in their deal sheet this morning. City are interested in signing Liverpool forward Gakpo. The 27-year-old's under contract till 2030, just signed that 5-year deal in August 2025. No club-to-club talks yet, even though discussion with the agent. As it says there, subject to repeated links to Spurs this summer, Liverpool maintained he's not for sale. He scored for them. City fans, how would you feel about Gakpo? Doesn't seem to get much love, doesn't it, from the Liverpool fans? But Spurs and City fans, I'm not going to be honest, I'm not seeing those positive reactions from there. But Alan and Gakpo, would you be happy with that? We'll have to wait to see if it develops any further at all. Now, Rodri's gone. I mean, City, it kind of worked, I suppose, as in it did the job, but you won't want to test it for more games. Mark Gay was in the midfield, wasn't he? You know, felt like, was Maresca trying to make a point? I'm not sure he really needed to Hugo Viana and the powers that be, because I think we're all waiting for confirmation on this one, aren't you, City fans? This was even yesterday morning. Buardi's completed his medical at Manchester City and joins the club on a €95 million plus €5 million deal from nil. All documents signed by the club. So you've got one in, a central midfielder, a young central midfielder who was a bit of a star of the World Cup, wasn't he? For Morocco, it's a high price and it's a slightly different type of midfielder. Then again, it's important to say, who replaces Rodri? Who could possibly replace Rodri? But it's fascinating the way it's changed now for City, isn't it? From Rodri, Bernardo Silva, how the makeup of that midfield looks. Elliot Anderson, Buardi. Yeah. And it might change even further. You'll have seen this one. Now, last Friday, just gone, wasn't it? 5 p.m. That deadline that Chelsea passed when, and we said at the time, ladies and gents, so what? And even last night, Xabi Alonso was asked about Enzo Fernandez' future and said, in football, I am not surprised by anything. We will see this week. My wish is we know what will happen for the future, but we will see this week. So much for a last Friday, 5 p.m. deadline, eh? Most of the Premier League is waiting for what? 125 million bids, something like that. Maresca knows the player well from his time at Chelsea. What do you think to that, City fans? That midfield of Buardi, Anderson, Enzo Fernandez. It's very different to, let's say, the legendary, but Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri. I know obviously you've had people go in there as well, like Reinders, but big change at Manchester City in the midfield, especially. I mean, there could be literally 3 midfield players all around or above the £100 million mark coming in. And how are you going to fund that? Well, Spurs. Simple as that. Savinho is now a former Manchester City player. He is a Spurs player. And he said, whenever I came to play against Spurs, I always talked to my reps about the club. Of course you did. When he said the club was interested in me, I was very happy. And there he is with his multitude of agents all smiling their little noggins off because of the pure commission they will get. This still seems mad to me. Not got many Premier League goals or assists. I know he's young, but 85 million quid. Just put that in context. Yeah? That's the way the Premier League market's gone. And of course, City fans, you're now waiting for, is this Marmoush one going to be finalised as well? A figure where, I'm not going to call it a diddle because that would be too strong, but maybe a figure where, let's just say, Eintracht Frankfurt aren't picking up the commission they probably thought they would at one time. So we'll wait to see that one as well. Newcastle busy. City set to be busy as well. One team that it was a terrible weekend. But what about the end to the window for Aston Villa? Unai Emery does have a skill. Doesn't seem almost how many go out, how many come in. He makes it work eventually. And people forget Villa didn't have the best of starts last time, but they clicked into gear quickly. Emery's used to this type of model. And one forward wants out, another forward wants out, but he might want in to Aston Villa. Because we got this morning, didn't we? Just before 11 o'clock from David Ornstein. Aston Villa make a bid to Crystal Palace for Jean-Philippe Mateta. It lands far below what Palace would seek for the 29-year-old, but Villa interest is ongoing alongside indicative offer to AC Milan for Rafael Leao. It relates to the Ollie Watkins situation. Now, in a bizarre turn of events, of course, Mateta took Crystal Palace, Steve Parish, didn't he, to FIFA, trying to argue the last year of his contract was invalid based on the whole bit around the injury, Palace not telling him the truth, etc. But he failed in that action, didn't he? And more has come out there. It still feels like these three are interconnected. Even as the Athletic said, Villa have been in the market for attacking reinforcements with Ollie Watkins, who we'll talk about future of the club, unclear. Tammy Abraham and Brian Maggio sidelined with injury as well. Another forward, Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson, we'll be talking about him. It's weird, isn't it, how things can change or maybe be over-dramatised in football. Villa, everyone was impressed with them in the Super Cup, weren't they? They had a really good game against PSG. You looked at the youngsters like Hemmings, like Maggio, and you were well impressed and thought they could really do a job in the Premier League. And yet, 4-0 defeat. The knives are out. People are writing them off. One thing I'm not going to do with the Unai Emery side is write them off this early at all. Yeah, I think people are going a bit hyperbolic, and it was embarrassing. It was an awful first half, wasn't it? You saw the Villa fans' reactions, but they're making moves. And as much as people were making fun of it, I can't respect Unai Emery for his whole thing on Ollie Watkins with the silence. That was just funny, wasn't it? Let's be honest, and not responding to it. Now, there's a couple of updated reports. Villa fans, you will know Jacob Tanswell, the Athletic correspondent for you guys. Now, he said Ollie Watkins returned to training. This was yesterday, and apologised to his teammates on Monday after missing the match. I mean, another player potentially we're talking about on strike there in Ollie Watkins, and you'll have seen, Villa fans, him and his missus getting absolutely peppered on social media, weren't they, for it? Maybe Villa are going to move on quickly, though. Maybe Unai Emery wants to move on quickly. You could tell he wasn't happy with him after the game. Al Hilal might still be there. And in fact, again, I've not seen an Ornstein, I've not seen a Romano, anything like that post it yet. But literally, Sasha Taglieri an hour ago tweeted that Al Hilal and Aston Villa have reached an agreement for Ollie Watkins. Villa are waiting to find his replacement for accepting the proposal. That has now been done. The Englishman will travel to Riyadh in the coming days and will earn $15 million per year. Dollar bucks, eh? That's Shane O'Mac, wasn't it? From WWE. Here comes the man. Anyway, so yeah, he's going to get highly paid, it looks like. But Villa ain't stopping there. We've seen the links with Mateta, would they make another move there? We've seen Rafa Leao trying to get that on a reduced fee as well. Also, you have Fabrizio Romano saying, how long ago was this? Feels like a lot still breaking today. 50 minutes ago. Nicholas Jackson remains Villa's priority target, as reported last week, as club-to-club talks are starting. Jackson's open to Villa after also Atletico Madrid made contact. Nothing will happen for Mateta and Villa until they've chances to get Jackson. So there seems a clear pecking order for Villa fans, doesn't it? Jackson, as you saying there, is the replacement quite clearly. If that fails for any reason, and it looks a hefty price tag, doesn't it, for Nicholas Jackson, despite his talent, maybe Mateta, the cheaper option, comes there. Rafa Leao as well. So there's a full shake-up of the Villa attacking area. Now, Ezri Konsa's gone as well. We know he is now an Arsenal player, but they're looking to get that replacement done, aren't they? We're expecting this to be announced soon, as Jacob Tans will also report on the deal sheet, progressing that deal to sign defender Joel Ordóñez from Club Brugge, the young Ecuadorian centre-back. Maybe it's a finance one, Villa fans, as you know, but to help, the proposed deal is for an initial loan with an obligation for the Premier League to make the move permanent for a fee in the region of 30 million euros. That's a lot less than they sold, or got for, I should say, Ezri Konsa. So Villa being quite thrifty again. Good word, that for a Tuesday, isn't it? But also, this player, Roy Keane's son-in-law. Villa also have pursued Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Sounds like a furniture store, I reckon. Seeing 2 offers rejected for the defender. Southampton have made it clear the valuation for the 24-year-old, and Villa are currently unwilling to meet it. So we're unsure. Is it just Ordóñez and then maybe just Harwood-Bellis, or is it both to replace Konsa? Both a lot younger, and especially with Ordóñez, he's been looked at by Newcastle, linked with Liverpool multiple times in the past. It will be fascinating to see how they get on. But Villa, you are going to be seriously busy before the end of the window, either way. Now, Arsenal, the champions, most people's favourites, they put Coventry to the sword, it felt like, quite easily, and maybe you can get carried away, but there's no doubt they are favourites. They've got Bruno Guimaraes, that midfielder, injured for the first game. They've got Ezri Konsa in now, cover for the other 86,000 defenders that they've got. It's all about the forward line, isn't it? They've been linked with so many. Doesn't look like they're going to get Barcola. We'll talk about him shortly. They've got Solis in. Ian Wright went on a bit of a diatribe about, a respectful way of doing it, but such is the nature of football. Fabrizio Romano had this in the last few hours. Al Hilal remain in advanced talks with Gabriel Martinelli with hope of a breakthrough soon. But he's not travelling to Riyadh today. Reports of him flying to Saudi are false, according to club sources. But negotiations continue with the players' camp. Al Hilal are confident. Sure they are, because it's basically, will you take the truckload of money? Simple as that. Didn't want to go to Galatasaray, didn't it? It looked like they were trying to use him in that deal for Victor Osimhen, but that fell through. It feels like it's this. It's up the red 77 or 977 says there. If they can get the Alvarez deal done, it's over. The rest of the Premier League is keeping an eye on that. Now, there's been a bit of mixed reporting around this, because this was from Spanish sources and Adam Crofton in The Athletic. When was this? Yesterday. A source close to Atletico Madrid leadership told The Athletic the only way they saw Julian Alvarez leaving this summer would be if Arsenal made €150 million offer, which would beat the Alexander Isak fee for Liverpool, wouldn't it? That's yet to arrive, and the source viewed it as unlikely the Premier League champions would put forward that kind of money. It's quite clear Julian Alvarez still wants to move to Atletico Madrid. It is quite clear Atletico Madrid, you've heard the president, you've heard Simeone, they are not budging on that. There's been talks, summits, strikes, all sorts of things suggested. I suppose the big thing will be, Berta used the Atletico Madrid connections. Will Arsenal put big money on the table for Julian Alvarez. The rest of the Premier League, probably hoping not, in all honesty. Because if you think of people have got mixed views on Victor Gyökeres, but you look at his record last year, and it was respectable, more than respectable, it's fair to say. Arsenal got Julian Alvarez. Yeah, I think that might be, most people think Arsenal got it sewn up already. If he comes in, we'll have to see, won't we? Now, not the only teams to talk about. Some of the big boys. One's got a move done. One's, God, it's been dragging for 86,000 years, certain ones. And you probably know which one I'm talking about as I say that. We're talking Bradley Barcola and Carlos Baleba. Now, United fans, it wasn't a good weekend for you, but it's a happy day, surely. Carlos Baleba, Manchester United, as it says on the screen there, it's official. The former Brighton man has joined. As he said, I'm a Baleba, I'm a Red. Jason Wilcox saying he's an elite, talented footballer. I mean, United looked weak at set pieces, didn't they, against Hull specifically? I'm not sure Baleba will do that too much or give you much grace there, but he is a talented player. He is a left-footed, a defensive midfielder. Could be exactly what United are going for. That midfield's had a full revamp for United, hasn't it? Carlos Baleba, Andre Santos, Yuri Tielemans as well. A full change in that central area, which makes you wonder, Kobe Mainu, but hey, we'll see. In that regard, though, it's a bit of a gamble because it wasn't the best of season for Baleba last year, was it? Which saw a significant tank in his value. If he'd repeated his first year antics, you'd be talking £100 million plus, and they wouldn't have got him. But they have. United will just be hoping he gets back to anything like the level he's been in recent times. So we'll see on that. And we mentioned this one as well. Dear Lord, there's something with a week left to go. It feels like the Bradley Barcola saga. Arsenal have been linked at one point, but with Liverpool, it's been rumbling on for 86,426 years to be exactly precise. Now, within the last hour, we've had another update. There's kind of not an update or anything official, but is an update. And if you're thinking, what the hell are you talking about? David Ornstein put this. Liverpool are holding key talks with PSG today in a bid to bring clarity on proposed Bradley Barcola transfer. Important meeting to establish direction of travel on the potential move, with the 23-year-old PSG winger committed to joining Liverpool. Now, we've heard that last line before. We've heard it most of the summer, it's fair to say. We're all waiting for this one, and it does sound like Liverpool officials will meet with PSG officials. You even had Luis Campos, didn't you, on French television saying at the weekend that the window is not done for us, both in terms of departures and arrivals. And of course, he's been questioned repeatedly about Bradley Barcola, Ibrahim Mbaye, who've been left out the last two squads as well. Liverpool fans, I know you're a bit tired of this one. You want it done. Spoiler alert, though, clubs. You all want it done, don't you? There is 1 week left to go of this window. Literally 1 week. Tuesday, the 1st of September, 7 p.m. It slams shut. You want players in now. I mean, City versus Palace, that's Friday night. So you're going to have players in and registered for sort of Thursday if they're going to play in that. The rest of the Premier League, sort of Friday noon. And we mean everything done. International clearance. We're not going to get into Brexit or anything like that, but fees signed, registered, paperwork, all the stuff that lawyers get paid a fortune for will all need to be done. Will it? That is the big question. It honestly feels as though it's going to be a big end to the window. I suspect you are going to be seeing for a lot of clubs yellow ties. We're going to be using the phrase market opportunities. Even things like these ones that keep coming up. I mean, Nicholas Jackson now linked with 65 million package to Aston Villa. But will they pay that? Would it surprise you if he ended up on a loan or something like that elsewhere? Josh Archibong played last night, but he's been linked away. Every club has got plenty of incomings and plenty of potential exits they're being linked with. I think it's going to be an absolutely insane end to the window. Oh, and in between that, and people have mentioned other ones, yeah, of course, like Delac to Forest. That's one they're looking at. There's Premier League games, isn't there? Match week 2, just in case anyone's unsure who their team's got. Some interesting fixtures. There really is, as we say. Friday night, Palace City. Saturday morning, Liverpool, Forest. Bournemouth, Everton. Coventry, Hull, the 3 o'clocks. And what an interesting game that is. Spurs, Newcastle at Spurs Stadium, 5:30. Super Sundays, Chelsea, Brighton, Leeds, Brentford, Sunderland, Fulham, 2 o'clock. Hell of a way to end the weekend again. United, Ipswich, 4:30. And on Monday night, the champions Arsenal travel to Aston Villa, who could have any number of players incoming before there in any number of positions. If you like your transfer dopamine hits, you've got a week of it, people. Premier League fans, we shall see what all this brings. Okay? Tuesday, the 25th of August. 1 week left to go of the window. That was an EPL Index news round. Enjoy your evenings.